Welcome to Touched and Empowered, a show created to empower individuals to value their lives by hosting think tank discussions that will inspire positive action. Touched and Empowered with Katie and Ace starts now.
So, welcome to this episode of Touched and Empower. I am Katie, this is Ace, and our topic today is goals.
Yay.
You sound so enthusiastic about that.
I'm so enthused. So, ladies and gentlemen, what's been really interesting this year is I've actually met a lot of people who created amazing goals that they wanted to achieve last January, right?
Right.
And they're all telling me I haven't achieved a good portion of them.
Well, part of me wants to argue what is the definition of achieving, because if you're moving towards your goal, that is an achievement.
Agreed, actually. And it's like kind of that situation of the glass half full, half empty. And I know a lot of people, from what I know, is like, I didn't achieve it. I'm a failure. I'm like, you got 80% of the way to it.
Well, it's not a failure, it's just a temporary defeat.
Yeah, where you can actually learn a lot from. So not only that, but like if you're at that 80% mark, yes, still, and we're of course pre-recording this episode. This is November 17th, 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yes, still have a month and a half left till January 1st.
You do. And it's amazing what you can accomplish in a very short period of time.
Yeah, do you know how many people actually squish all their productiveness into those 45 days?
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be the 45 days by the end of the year, because everyone's schedule and production schedule and everything has different seasons at different times of the year. But everyone does have that crunch time, by the end of either the calendar year or their fiscal year, where they're trying to get everything all caught up, everything done, everything to be accounted for, so then that way they can start afresh.
Yes. And it's really funny because like you can get a lot done. Even though so I felt really bad because there were so many people disheartened from when I was like just connecting with friends, people that are achieving their trying to achieve their goals, people that are in communities, etc. And everyone is just working as hard as they can to get, I want this much income. I want this much. I want this much. And look, if you look at your year and if you've made progress on anything, and if you've changed one habit or more in your life,
Mm-hmm.
you are doing great.
And sometimes I think we have to remember that there's more to success and there's more to abundance than the dollars in our bank accounts.
Yeah, because honestly, there's a lot of people who have a lot of money and they're not happy. Some people aren't, and some people
Yeah.
are,
Some
right?
people are right. And there are other ways to have the abundance of your business. For example, you might have more clients, even though you're not making much more money. But that just means that those clients are going to tell more people, and then you're going to have even more clients after that, especially if what you do works.
Yeah, and a big thing that I've also noticed is like, so Katie and I were going through
Numbers.
our numbers. We're going through a monthly review of how our podcast is progressing, right? And when I heard the numbers, I was like, oh, that's exciting. We're growing. It's moving. We've increased by 1,000 a month. I'm grateful. Yay. Views,
Impressions.
impressions. And to be honest, that type of growth is not easy to achieve on YouTube, especially when you see YouTube videos that have like 39 views, 140
Yeah.
views, right? When there is actually like an increase on anything, that means progress. And if it's a steady increase, it's a solid bet.
If it's a steady increase, then you know that you're doing something right.
Exactly. You're progressing, you're growing. That means other people are taking notice. Another thing is, I know Katie and I have grown so much while doing this podcast. We've had every type of fascinating challenges and obstacles.
And all types of different guests and people we have interviewed on all kinds of different topics. I don't think that there's a topic that we haven't touched yet. And if there is, I'm sure it'll come up soon.
And if we haven't, please write to us and let us know.
Yeah. I do watch the for comments on the YouTube channel, and I watch for comments on our website. And so I do respond to those. And we have a little bit of a list, not quite enough questions to qualify for an episode, but there will be a Q&A, Ask Katie and Ace Anything episode. And we will answer those questions when we have a few more.
Absolutely. And especially if we have a live. I know Katie was mentioning we're going to do live soon, and that's very, very possible. I absolutely love lives. They're really fun for me. But I also understand that I'm so grateful and excited that we have a solid base of content.
Yes.
Yeah, because we've been consistent. Do you know how amazing it is and appreciative to be consistent in going towards your goals and your pursuits? That is an achievement on its own. If you're able to like sincerely say, I made this towards that goal. And even though it may not happen today, still got 45 days left, but
Yep.
it may not happen today. What's so amazing is you've created everything to just run its course so that it will be achieved.
And it's the same with any habit. Consistency matters. So you don't have to reach the goal in one day. Break it down into smaller chunks and do like 3 items a day to move you towards your goal. Do 1 item a day for the first week,
Yeah.
and then 2 items a day for the second week, and then 3 items a day for the next week. It's the consistent of the message, it's the consistency of the energy that I have found has made it easier to move towards my goals.
Beautiful. And you don't actually have to do more than one thing a day towards that, as long as you do it every day.
Yeah. It's the consistency of doing it every day because that puts the energy that you are putting into it, lets the universe know that this matters because you're doing it on a daily basis. And it'll help you find the energy to continue doing it or bring you the energy you need to complete the task.
Exactly. And this is actually a good segue. I just released an ebook.
Oh, you did? News to me.
Yes, I released a new ebook. It's actually been pending in my laptop for almost 2 years.
Hey, you know what? It's okay. You got it done. So is it published yet?
It's published, it's out on Amazon, it's on my website. So essentially, I remember I was working with this kid that I actually met on Sunset in Los Angeles. So if anybody is from California, if you meet anyone on Sunset, that's like that's like a whoa. Like you have no idea who this person would be. But I knew he was young and I knew he was 19 years old and I knew that he had a girlfriend and a kid that he just his girlfriend actually just birthed 2 or 3 days beforehand, and all three of them were in a homelessness shelter.
Oof.
Right. And he asked me something and I went, do you have $25 to put my stuff in a storage unit? Ladies and gentlemen, if somebody just asks for money or just whatever without a purpose, chances are they're going to use it for something that isn't going to help them with their life. But this kid needs something specific. And it kind of clicked with me like, okay, wait a minute. Hold on. And for whatever reason, I'm a millennial. I don't carry cash on me. I had 25 bucks on me, and I never do this, by the way, but I had it. And I was like, Even as a kid, my mother actually taught me never to give out money because you never know what the person's going to do with it.
Right.
But this clicked. So I sat with him and asked him, like, hey, I'll give you the 25 bucks, but that means you have to go and sit with me and have coffee.
Interesting.
Right. I was like,
Yeah.
I want to know what this is. So back in the day, I actually worked, I volunteered a lot. And St. John's University has this thing called the Net Funds. So essentially the idea is you have a conversation, you connect with the people that you're giving food, drinks, just all the basic need stuff to
Right.
the homeless population in New York City. And that already brokered, like, okay, I'm not scared to sit with you and talk with you, but now I'm interested what's going on. So I sit down with him. He tells me his story. He tells me about his girlfriend. He tells me about the kid. And then for whatever reason, something clicked. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to results coach you for 3 weeks. We're going to check in for an hour a week. We're going to go over your goals and we're going to move you into a better place. Right? I was like, yeah, what are your dreams? What are your goals? And at the time, I was trying to let go of some older projects that I was working on, and it was time for something new. So this was new. After 3 weeks of meeting with him, I actually helped him get to becoming a Lyft driver without even having a social security card to start.
So he had his number, he just didn't have his card.
He had his phone, he didn't have his card, he didn't have much, he didn't have a home.
Right.
For me, I'm thinking, you have a kid.
Yeah.
That means your money is not just for yourself, it's for your kid. Right?
Absolutely.
Right. So I was able to help him through it. And then what ended up happening was through the sessions, I created this book. It's called the Bounce Back Survival Guide.
Catchy title.
Thank you. I had a really good editor and a really good layouts guy jump in this project with me. And what was really fascinating was it's a very short pamphlet. The idea was to take this pamphlet and bring it to some type of nonprofit as a way of a program for practical skills application so that people knew how to budget, people learned how to create a goal, people could figure out a way to get their needs met without being nervous. Like, imagine if you don't have shelter, you don't know where you're going to get clean water, you don't know when you're going to get food.
Yeah.
Right? And you don't know if it's safe where you're standing, you're not going to really care to set up something or a plan because you're already in like air quotes survival mode slash, there's a word for it, fight or flight.
Right.
So there's no way for you to really just like sit, figure it out. Now you're just instinctual.
True.
So by creating this survival guide, you have a literal time like pamphlet that you can go through your goals and keep your mind steady to achieve each goal. It's really good to be paired with a volunteer or somebody of sorts to help people achieve their goals, like a motivating touch-based person, because on
this just accountability, probably.
Yeah, just an accountability buddy. That's like, that can help people move into a new direction and bring them to their next state of life. Because another thing is, so when you're doing this, you're breaking out of old habits.
Right.
You're breaking out of being attached to X, Y, and Z, addiction to X, Y, and Z, getting stuck in a hole, sadness. Like this book, what it delivers essentially is your motivated guide to get you out of that old paradigm and pull you into the new one.
I love helping people get into new paradigm shifts. That's amazing.
Thank you. It's wonderful. And it worked. So when I saw it work with this one kid, I was like, all right, well, it makes sense. But there was this one caveat. So what happens when you're working to establish a new habit?
You run the risk of falling back into the old habit.
Yes. And do you know what the time frame normally is for that?
My guess would be around the 21 to 30 day time frame.
Actually, no. Funny enough. That is interesting.
No?
No, so between 1 to 30 days of building a habit, like if you're doing something consistently every day for 30, it's the 17th day.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's smack dab in the middle. So what ended up happening was this guy was doing great. He was on his grind. He was able to do it. He was able to move forward. The 17th day, he got into this strange altercation, and he was almost taken to a police station.
Oh, wow.
And then he explained the fight to me, and I was like, "Ooh, that wasn't you. That actually really wasn't you." And it was just really nice for him to hear me say that. And then as he was moving forward, I was like, let it go. Don't get mad about it. Because I know that this is probably a situation that is trying to stop you from believing that you can change.
Right.
Right. And that will happen. It's just kind of the way, I guess, the universe works. By the 17th day, you're challenged the hardest with everything wreaking havoc on you. And once you break through it, you change the habit. The next, doing math, 13 days are pretty much the smooth sailing as long as you continue to feel appreciative of the shift and the change. Because if you're not appreciative of that shift or change, you will slowly go back to the old habits.
And I think that is the key word right there, the appreciation that you have for the shift, the gratitude that you have for the shift. I really think is the key, because if you don't express these positive emotions about the change that's going on, the rubber band snaps you back to where you were.
100%. It's actually really important. The appreciation aspect of your growth is the most crucial fertilizer to really bring you to that growth level. If you don't do the appreciation aspect, you can slowly drop down. So, this book, what it does is it really does help put you into a new level. And sometimes, if you really want to, you can reuse it again to take you to another level. But what I really do recommend is once you make the first level of this is really to help get you out of any negative situation. This is about like if you're homeless or if you're facing homelessness.
Right.
If you are in that fight or flight, oh my gosh, my anxiety is flaring, I can't think. This is what that book is for.
That is amazing. I can see a lot of groups being able to use this book as a tool for the people that they are helping.
Exactly.
And because the Teen Suicide Prevention Society just did an event where we were helping talk to veterans who were house insecure. They didn't know whether or not they would still have a place to stay in the next 30 days.
So you're going to love this aspect too. Because adding on to that, my sister is a 23-year veteran.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, she did 23 years in the Air Force. And I know that a good percentage of the homelessness population across the United States, it's above 60. I don't know if it's actually higher than 80, but 60% of the homelessness population is veteran.
Yeah.
Which is very unfortunate, yet it makes sense, right? So the idea of that is like you go off to a new land, you're trained a specific way, you get out of the military, and the training isn't there for you again, right? Like, so it's hard for you to adapt to civilian life.
Yes.
And then the mental health issues that come with it, especially if people were veterans in the 60s.
Yeah, because we've learned so much since then.
Well, yeah. Also, this was the first war where people came back and they weren't celebrated
That's true.
for fighting for your country. Right. So the thing is, I played on a little bit of understanding psychology.
Right.
If you read something that's black, white with words and text on it, and it looks like a legal document, how often are you going to trust it?
It sounds like a school textbook. So for me, probably not.
No. So this book, it's actually done in a way that emulates Liechtenstein. And if anybody knows Liechtenstein, his art, it is comic book dot based.
Oh, nice.
Exactly. And most of the people that we're targeting lived off of comic books. Look at Marvel. Why do you think it's doing so well on Disney Plus?
Because everyone loves a superhero. That's why.
Exactly. So the font, the art, the layout, all of it is done in a way that emulates comic book.
Oh, no, that's fun.
Exactly.
So we will definitely have to make sure that that link is in the show notes when we're done.
Thank you. But ladies and gentlemen, so for in regards to goals, I had no idea. I mean, just kind of came into it. We were just talking about goals, and now it's like, oh yeah, I released this book last week. So,
And this was one of your goals. It just finally came to fruition.
well, it was funny because I didn't actually want to release this book. I actually wanted to take it and like, yes, publish it and bring it to a way of to creating a homelessness initiative,
Right.
right? And I knew I could write and create this book, but I didn't want to run the nonprofit.
I can understand that.
Right.
Running a nonprofit is not for everybody.
No, and I'm not really I'm don't want to do it. But what I do want to do, I can help with creating the ideas and I can help being on boards and I can also help understand what programs would be helpful for the general populace and generate the IP if it's not already created
Right.
to contribute to a nonprofit.
And that makes sense.
Thank you.
So it's all about looking around and figuring out what it is that you exactly want. And then making the steps to get there and start small.
Yeah. And the basic, I keep referring to this because it really is part of that. So in this, in the bounce back survival guide, the goals that you're looking for, they are smaller goals. They aren't like, I want a $5 million mansion with 5 cars and live the life of my dreams with the wife I've never known. Like that's not this book. This book is more of like this book is more like, okay, what basic needs need to be fulfilled in order for you to dream in a way that really brings your life to that loving level.
That is so well articulated. I don't even know how to express it other than that is a wonderful way to start on any vision or goal, no matter where you are in your life.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Katie. Yeah, I really did understand that. I don't know what I was doing at the time, but I knew that like I was closing out an old cycle with some old business partners, and I knew I was starting fresh. But what I did really understand and going through that challenge and going through some of the challenges of the pandemic, those smaller goals, those smaller habits, understand the present, but understand the present circumstances can change.
Yes.
Right. You keep your eyes steadily on the reality of the circumstances. Don't get me wrong. Don't get just stuck in the vision of everything's so wonderful and it's it's okay if it's not. Like you just be honest. Like
Right.
but knowing, okay, so what would be wonderful? Where am I at? What are the steady steps to get there? And then don't focus on, oh crap, I haven't gotten there yet. That's not going to do anyone good. It's here's the
Focus
next,
on the increments.
right. Here's the next step. This is the next goal. Okay, let me finish that. Finish. Yay, I did it. Okay, I'm a step closer. Okay, keep going. And then keep going. And then keep going. Keep going. And then when you look back and you see how much you've grown, that's when you're like, oh, yay! Like the monster.
Because it's like when we were looking at the impressions from, how long our podcast has been out. Because even though we've been recording for months before it was actually released, it's only been up on YouTube for less than 6 months. But seeing the growth rate of the impressions and seeing the growth rate as to how many people have actually watched versus how many people have liked versus how many people have subscribed, there's no spike in growth. It's all been slowly, gradually going up.
Yes.
But it's constantly going up.
Mm-hmm. And the returning subscriber rate based off of the viewership is like close to like 80%.
Yeah.
80 to 90% of like returning subscribers growing each month. That's amazing. That actually, like, imagine, all right, for anybody that's ever been in Instagram or TikTok or whatever, there's such a transience of subscribers. They come in, they come out. Sometimes they continue to watch you. Sometimes they're like, whatever. But
Yep.
that on its own, the fact that like there's a return of more, like, I'm sorry, I'm thinking 80, it's actually close to 90% of like returning subscribers. That is something to be very, very grateful for.
So for everyone who's been watching, thank you. Even without leaving comments or sending messages or anything, we know that you are still coming back to find out what we're talking about, and greatly, greatly appreciate that.
Thank you so much. And thank you for all your support throughout the changes, the ebbs, the flows, the craziness of the United States and the world. Thank you so much for coming back here and joining us, because it makes our efforts the more meaningful. So
yeah, and we'd do it even if you didn't come back.
That's true. But love that you come back, because then we keep going.
We do love that you come back. On that note,
thank
bye,
you,
everyone.
Join us next week as Katie and Ace talk more about learning from your mistakes and not letting them define you. Thank you for joining us. We hope that the discussion today will inspire you to take positive action in your life. Until next week, be empowered.